Destiny and chance are pretty opposite things. What happens when a video game blends them together? Hand of Fate pits you against the dealer, a mysterious magician eager to test your mettle with his meticulously crafted game of risk and reward. Now, he pulls all the events from your past, so you know exactly what could happen, but you don't know when, and you don't know if you'll succeed. Every little adventure is like its own story, both built around you and built by you, though how they end depends on a bit of skill and a bit of luck. Let's break it down. In Hand of Fate, you move a game piece along a path made of cards from a deck you've built yourself. These cards each have an event which you must deal with upon revealing them. Some feature card-swapping skill challenges, some are simple rewards or shops, and some result in a fight. The combat is quick and utilizes one-button attacks, counters, dodges, and some special abilities. By satisfying conditions on each card, more cards are rewarded, resulting in a gradually increasing repertoire of equipment to receive and encounters to face. Hand of Fate leaves its story up to you, quietly daring you to push further toward your goals. But is it rated S? Before I can talk about how Hand of Fate crafts these story experiences, I have to talk about to what degree it is a card game, which is to say, a lot. The board is made of cards, your character, cards, enemies, cards, health, food, resources, curses, literally everything in the game is cards. The story mode in Hand of Fate is neatly arranged in this ornate binder of sorts. One by one, you'll challenge the 3 leaders of each card suit. The rank of the card suggests the difficulty of the boss, and the suit defines its enemy type. Along with the boss, different curse and challenge cards are guaranteed to show up for each adventure, but everything else is up to you. And let me show you what I mean. Before each adventure, you have the option to check out the deck builder. In the deck builder, you get to choose which equipment and encounter cards will show up for your adventure. As in, you dictate exactly which cards will make up the board upon which you play, and exactly which treasures you could receive from those cards. It is in this sense that you decide your own fate, even if how you arrive there involves a bit of chance. That dichotomy of predetermination and mystery is at the core of this game. One of Hand of Fate's central mechanics is deck building. Deck building is a process by which you acquire cards via the cards you've already collected, and this happens on 2 fronts, both after and during the playthrough. So while you're at the table, while you're playing, you're using cards you have to get more cards to use during the playthrough. Playing at the table is pretty straightforward. Move your piece, flip over the card, do what it says. The encounters vary in theme and gameplay, so sometimes there will be a caretaker simply asking for food for some orphans, and sometimes you'll be taken on a bizarre trip through a mysterious carnival only to find out that you hallucinated the entire thing. Simple or complex, most cards feature escape options, so if you don't want to give money to the poor begging priest, you don't have to. When you see a card for the first time, all you have to go on is the image and the story text. Is it good? Is it bad? What does it mean? Is it trying to trick me? Am I tricking myself? Who knows? While some cards result in pain, some cards result in gain. There's both risk in trying and risk in denying, but to make sense of that, I'll explain. Failure and success in general are dictated by 2 things: card swapping or combat. Both are pretty dang simple. Success in a card swap usually means that the event in the encounter went well for you. Sometimes this leads down branching paths based on whether you succeeded or failed, but rest assured, you certainly don't want a huge failure. Just look at how scary it is. Now, with combat, you're presented with a number of enemies and their types. Then you're spawned in an arena to defeat said enemies. If you don't die, you succeeded. Good job! Be it through combat or card swapping, most encounters pay out in the form of pain or gain cards. I wasn't just being clever, cards literally result in pain or gain. Pain cards tend to mean losing stuff like health or resources or equipment, or getting curses, while gain cards tend to do the opposite. You get health, resources, equipment, or blessings. So sometimes you could get completely destroyed by failure, or sometimes you'll succeed and not really get all that much, or sometimes you'll have a little bit of both. Hence the risk. I could go on and on about all the amazing encounter cards that there are in this game, but I'm not going to do that because we'd be here for a year. So instead, I'll just say that of the hundreds of them, most of them present either some long form or immediate chance at gain and chance at loss, and thus, they all present some form of risk. Let's talk about risk. Just about every decision in Hand of Fate has an opportunity cost. For instance, if you buy food from a merchant and then go broke, there's a chance later on that having no money could result in some big damage, or just missing out on further rewards. It's sort of like that idiom, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. But if there's like 12 in the bush, then I don't know if that one bird is really worth it anymore. That's kind of what this game is proposing to you. Granted, when it comes to the immediate evaluation of risk, neither the card swapping or the combat is all that deep. The card swapping is tough, but it's really just following a card, and the combat is bare bones at best. You chain together one-button attacks while avoiding enemies via dodges or counters if you have a shield. Some of the arenas will have traps, but there's no special moves that reposition enemies, so they're kind of difficult to play off of tactically. Some of your equipment grants you magical abilities like area attacks or damage boosts, but other than that, they're not all that fancy. But both tests serve their purpose, and they serve it well. Neither the combat nor the card swapping are the focus of the game. They're not the point. The point is that they are beatable, they're simple, they're understandable, and there's this idea that you could surpass them even at the worst odds. When an encounter card shows up, whether or not you know how it works, there's this idea that you could fail, there's this idea that it could backfire. But since everything is so simple, it's like, oh, of course I could beat this. I hope. A challenge like this one, with just one slow swap and 3 success cards, no big deal. But a challenge like this one, with 1 huge success, surrounded by failures, and 2 quick swaps? That's unnerving. There's a greater risk, but of course, that means greater rewards. The same goes with the combat. Each fight is relatively quick, even against bosses, and if you're skilled or well geared, you can survive some fights unscathed. But not every fight. Enemies will gang up on you, combine ranged and melee maneuvers, knock you into traps, or use unblockable attacks to throw off your groove. If your health starts to drop, just like when doing the card challenges, the tension rises and the fear of losing everything you've accumulated grows. With either test, your success is entirely in your hands, so taking on such simple challenges keeps you reevaluating your opportunity costs. Is it worth it to bet on myself just one more time? That sense of trepidation that you approach each encounter with as your health drops or you pile up curses or whatever, that's how the story gets built. Every little encounter starts to take something from you and give something to you, and ultimately there's a chance that you could just lose everything on any one given encounter. That idea starts to build and grow as you get closer and closer to harder and harder bosses. Now those elements of the game are all designed to give you an enriched experience during each playthrough, something to gain. But there's more to gain even after each playthrough, as I said earlier. Not only is each adventure something of a short story for yourself, the cards have their own stories to tell. The dealer will sometimes speak of the magic and history behind this game he's crafted while you play. At first I thought his narration to be background dressing, some eerie yet thematically convincing embellishment, but the proof is in the cards. After defeating the Jack of Plagues, who is a particularly gross rat man with bizarre taste in headwear, you're awarded with his token. Upon redeeming it, you'll acquire a handful of new cards, a few of which have locks on them. These cards represent consequence. Because you defeated the Jack of Plagues, now these Ratmen hunting cards are locked into your deck until you conquer their related card, calling the Ratmen. This gives a sense that the game truly has a bit of magic in it, a bit of a will of its own, no matter how much control it grants to you. The deck building mechanic wouldn't work all that well if only boss cards worked this way. Almost every encounter card comes with a token for you to earn. Some cards call for great sacrifice, some spawn other cards which you must further interact with, and some require you pay attention to the text and respond against your immediate assumptions. Even grander than the variety of cards are the thematic strings which attach them. Upon surviving the Desert Storm card, you get the card Lost in the Desert, reinforcing this idea that the game is a retelling of someone's past. This multifaceted approach invites the player to indulge in their curiosity and take on seemingly absurd risks to earn tokens and grow their experience, as well as to get more cards. Hand of Fate has as many stories in it as you're willing to write. It's as long as you want it to be. There are a finite amount of equipment cards and encounter cards, and they can only play out in so many different ways. But the way in which they will play off of each other, the experiences that they will craft over the course of several floors of each dungeon, whether you do story or endless mode, will always be unique. And that's the kind of thing that I don't feel like is all that common. If you are going to get something out of this game, it's gonna be those little individual stories, those moments where you bid everything on a huge risk and it pays off. Things are going crappy and then all of a sudden they're awesome. And then the next card, you die. That's the kind of thing that I definitely think is rated S. But I also don't think it's for everybody, so pay attention to the words I've said before you buy it. Thanks for watching. Hey everybody, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it because I enjoyed making it. And if you did enjoy the video, feel free to give it a like, the old like button, because it helps me out a lot. And I don't know, that's a cool thing to do. If you want to see more of my rated S analytical content, feel free to subscribe. And there's a couple more videos that I think are pretty similar to this one that I really liked making from last year. One is on Super Time Force, which is a very interesting shooter, and the other is on Gauntlet, the hack and slash dungeon crawler re-release that came out last year. So if you want to watch those, and you like this, you'll probably like those too. So, I don't know, do that.